To my friends and fellow seekers of the light, I welcome you. I have long believed that the greatest task a man can undertake is to share the hard-won lessons of his own experience with those who are still climbing the rugged path toward achievement. I have seen the rise and fall of many enterprises and the rise and fall of many men, and I tell you now, as I sit in the quiet of my reflections, that there is a truth so fundamental, so certain, and yet so overlooked that I have come to call it the most profound mystery of our existence, though it should be no secret at all. Not long ago, a great man of science and healing, a winner of the Nobel Prize, was asked by a curious observer, "What is the matter with the men of our time?" He paused, looked out at the world of industry and bustle, and replied with a heavy heart, "Men simply do not think." Consider that for a moment. We live in an age that our ancestors would have viewed as a miracle. We have conquered the distances with our railroads, we have harnessed the lightning for our lamps, and we have built an empire of business that provides even the humblest laborer with comforts that a king could not have commanded a century ago. We are blessed to live in a land of such vast, untouched resources and abundant opportunity that every man, regardless of his birth, carries the baton of a field marshal in his knapsack. Yet, what do we observe in the lives of the many? If you were to take 100 young men standing at the threshold of life at 25 years of age, you would find them all possessed of a certain fire. They are eager for the fray. There is a brightness in their eye and a firmness in their step. If you asked any one of them if he intended to be a success, to be a man of standing and character, he would tell you that he did. Life, to him, is a grand adventure to be won. But follow these same 100 men through the decades of toil until they reach the winter of their lives at 65. What shall you find? You will find that only one has become wealthy. 4 have achieved a comfortable financial independence. 5 are still forced to labor for their daily bread. But 54 of them, the overwhelming majority, are broken. They are dependent upon the charity of others or the meager support of the state for the very necessities of life. Why is it so? Why do 95 out of 100 fail to reach the port for which they set sail? What became of that early sparkle? What became of the dreams of the boy who stood ready to conquer the world? The disparity between what they intended to do and what they actually accomplished is the great tragedy of our modern civilization. If we are to understand this, we must first define what we mean by success. In my view, success is not the mere possession of gold, for gold can be a heavy burden to those who do not know how to use it for the public good. No, success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. If a man has set a goal for himself, if he knows where he is going and is moving toward it with a steady, unswerving purpose, that man is a success. If he is not doing that, he is a failure, no matter how much coin he may have in his purse. The great danger of our age is not a lack of courage, it is the habit of conformity. It is the tendency of men to act like those around them without ever asking why. They follow the crowd, and unfortunately, the crowd is moving toward the 54% who end their days in want. In this prosperous land, we learn to read as children. We learn to earn a living as young men. We take on the sacred responsibilities of a family. And yet, by the time we reach the age where we should be enjoying the fruits of our labor, we have not learned the simple laws that govern financial independence. We conform to the habits of the unsuccessful because we believe our lives are shaped by exterior forces, by luck, by circumstance, or by the whims of others. We are like ships without a rudder, tossed by every wave of chance. I once knew a man who asked a group of laborers why they got up in the morning to go to work. 19 out of 20 could give no better reason than everyone else does it. They were driven by the current of the multitude, unaware that they possessed the power to steer their own course. Who then is the truly successful man? He is the schoolmaster who teaches because he loves to mold the minds of the future. She is the mother who manages her household with devotion because it is her chosen calling. He is the salesman who seeks to become a master of his craft so that he may better serve his customers and his firm. Success is anyone who is doing a determined job because he decided to do that very thing deliberately and with a settled purpose. For many years, I searched for the key that would allow a man to foretell his future with certainty. Is there a principle that guarantees success? I found that there is, and it is as certain as the laws of Sir Isaac Newton. You see it in the men who seem to have the magic touch, those for whom every enterprise turns to gold, and you see the opposite in the man who, despite his honest labor, seems destined to fail time and time again. The difference is found in goals. Those with goals succeed because they know where they are going. Think of a ship leaving a harbor with its voyage mapped out to the last mile. The captain and the crew know exactly where they are headed. That ship will reach its destination 9,999 times out of 10,000. Now think of another ship. It is exactly like the first, but it has no captain at the helm, no crew at the stations, and no destination in mind. We simply start the engines and let it go. If it manages to leave the harbor at all, it will surely drift until it sinks or is dashed upon some deserted shore. It can go nowhere because it has no guidance. The human mind is exactly like that ship. Consider the profession of the salesman. There is no limit to what a man can achieve in this field if he is a master of his business and knows his destination. Every great enterprise is searching for the man who can represent its interests with intelligence and character. For such a man, the sky is the limit. But how few truly aim for the heights? It has been said that the human race is organized not to prevent the strong from winning, but to protect the weak from losing. Our economy is often like a convoy in time of war. The entire fleet must slow its pace to that of the slowest vessel so that none are left behind. Because it is so easy to make a living today, to find a plateau of security that requires little thought or talent, many men are content to remain there. But you must decide. How far above that plateau do you wish to climb? Now let me reveal to you the secret that will alter your life from this moment forward. If you truly grasp this, the clouds of anxiety and fear will vanish, and you will find that luck begins to follow you like a faithful shadow. The secret is this: we become what we think about. Throughout the history of the world, the great teachers, the philosophers, and the prophets have disagreed on many things, but on this one point they are in absolute and unanimous agreement. Marcus Aurelius, the wise Roman, said, "A man's life is what his thoughts make of it." The great Disraeli said, "A human being with a settled purpose must accomplish it. Nothing can resist a will that will stake even existence for its fulfillment." Ralph Emerson Edwards declared, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." And William James, that eminent observer of the human mind, said that the greatest discovery of his generation was that human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. If you wish to be rich, you will be rich. If you wish to be learned, you will be learned. If you wish to be good, you will be good. But you must wish these things exclusively, and not wish at the same time 100 other incompatible things just as strongly. In the sacred scriptures, we are told, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This is the law of prosperity. If you think in negative terms, you will surely reap negative results. If you think in positive terms, you will achieve success. It is as simple as the words "believe and succeed." George Bernard Shaw once remarked that people are always blaming their circumstances for what they are. I do not believe in circumstances. The men who get on in this world are the men who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they cannot find them, they make them. Why does this law work? Why do we become what we think about? I shall explain it by way of a comparison with the soil. Suppose a farmer has a plot of land, good, fertile land. The land does not care what the farmer plants. It is a neutral servant. The farmer may plant a seed of corn, which provides life-sustaining food, or he may plant the seed of nightshade, a deadly poison. He digs his furrows, he plants the seeds, he waters the earth. What will the land return to him? It will return the nightshade in just as much abundance and with just as much care as it returns the corn. As it is written, "As ye sow, so shall ye reap." The human mind is far more fertile, far more incredible, and far more mysterious than the soil of the earth, but it operates on the same principle. It does not care what you plant, whether it be success or failure, a noble goal or a garden of confusion and fear. But whatever you plant, it will return to you in kind. The mind is the last great unexplored continent. It contains riches beyond our wildest dreams. So why then do men not use this power more? It is a strange paradox of our nature that we place little value on the things that are given to us for free. Our minds, our souls, our bodies, our hopes, our loves, these are all given to us without cost. We value only the things we pay money for. But the truth is that the things we buy with gold are cheap and can be replaced. A man can lose his fortune and, through industry, build another. A house can burn to the ground and be rebuilt. But the priceless possessions given to us for nothing can never be replaced. We neglect the mind because we take it for granted. Familiarity breeds contempt. We use our minds for little jobs when we should be using them for the great work of building a life of honor and service. Most men operate on only a fraction of their true ability. I ask you now, what is it you want? Plant that goal in your mind. It is the most important decision you will ever make. Do you want to be a leader in your industry? A more devoted father? A man of influence in your community? Plant the seed, care for it, work steadily toward it. It must become a reality, for it is a law of nature. Think of your goal in a relaxed, positive way. Picture yourself, in your mind's eye, as having already achieved it. See yourself doing the things you will do when you have reached the summit. We live in an age of nervous exhaustion and worry, yet these are conditions we bring upon ourselves through our habitual ways of thinking. Each of us is the sum total of his own thoughts. You are where you are because that is where you truly want to be, whether you care to admit it or not. Your thoughts of today are the architects of your life tomorrow. I remember once seeing a giant machine, a marvel of engineering, moving tons of earth with ease. High atop that massive power sat a small man, his hands firmly on the wheel, guiding that energy toward a specific purpose. Your mind is that machine. Will you sit back and let it run into the ditch of despair? Or will you keep your hands on the wheel and direct that power toward a worthy end? This is the strangest secret. It is not a secret because it is hidden. It has been taught since the dawn of time. But it is a secret because so few men have the character to apply it. Life should be an exciting adventure, not a tedious chore. A man should be glad to rise in the morning to a task he loves because he does it well. The architect of the universe did not build a stairway leading nowhere. If you believe, it shall be done unto you. I propose to you a test, a trial of 30 days to prove these words in the crucible of your own life. It will not be easy, for it requires the breaking of old habits and the forging of new ones. But remember that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. You can achieve nothing without paying the price. What is the price of success? It is the price of long years of study for the physician. It is the price of unremitting attention to detail for the man of business. To win the good life, you must first understand, both in your heart and in your mind, that you become what you think about. You must control your thoughts if you are to control your destiny. Secondly, you must cut away the chains that bind your mind and allow it to soar. Realize that your limitations are self-imposed and that the opportunities before you are as vast as the plains of this great continent. Rise above pettiness and prejudice. Thirdly, Use your courage to force yourself to think positively. Set a definite goal. Let your imagination speculate on all the possible ways to reach it. Refuse to believe that any circumstance is strong enough to defeat a man who has a settled purpose. And finally, save at least 10% of all you earn. A man who cannot save money cannot expect to have the seeds of greatness within him. Let us continue our exploration of this great mystery. If you have listened closely to my previous words, you now stand at a threshold. You understand that the mind is the soil and your thoughts are the seeds. But a farmer does not merely plant a seed and retire to his porch to wait for a harvest. He must understand the chemistry of the earth and the laws of the seasons. So it is with the strangest secret. To move from the 54% who drift into the shadows of failure and join the 5% who command their destiny, you must undergo a transformation of character that is both intellectual and emotional. I have often said that the man who dies rich dies disgraced, but I must clarify. I speak of the man who hoards his gold without purpose. To achieve the wealth that allows for great philanthropy, one must first master the art of accumulation through service. This 30-day test I propose to you is the apprenticeship of that mastery. It is designed to prove to you in the laboratory of your own experience that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. You cannot expect the heat of success without first providing the fuel of effort. We must now address the specific price that must be paid for the life you desire. Many men wish for the fruit but recoil from the labor of the orchard. They look at a man like myself or my friend Mr. Rockefeller and see only the millions, forgetting the years of unremitting attention to the smallest details of the oil refinery or the steel rail. The price of the gospel of wealth is threefold. First, you must achieve a total and absolute control of the mental faculties. You must realize that you literally become what you think about. This is not a poet's fancy, it is a psychological fact. If you allow your mind to dwell upon the Scylla and Charybdis of fear and doubt, you are steering your vessel directly into the rocks. You must force your mind to dwell upon your definite chief aim with such intensity that it becomes a burning desire. As William James observed, if you only care enough for a result, you will almost certainly attain it. You must wish for your goal exclusively and not wish at the same time for 100 other incompatible things. Second, you must liberate your imagination. I have seen many a young man fail because he lacked the imagination to see the acre of diamonds beneath his very feet. He looks to distant lands for opportunity when the greatest opportunities in the world are often found in the very task he currently performs, provided he performs it with exceptional spirit. Your mind was divinely designed to soar. Do not tether it to the narrow-minded pettiness of the crowd. Look at your goal from every possible angle. Refuse to believe that any circumstance, no matter how daunting, has the power to defeat a man whose will is set. Third, you must possess the courage to act. Knowledge is but organized information until it is translated into action. I have known men of vast learning who lived in poverty because they lacked the decisiveness to put their theories to the test. When your course is clear, act with the promptness of a general on the battlefield. Do not wait for a perfect time, for the time will never be just right. Start where you stand and work with whatever tools you may have at your command, and better tools will be found as you go along. As you begin this 30-day trial, I want you to perform a simple yet symbolic act. Take a small card, something you can carry in your pocket near your heart. On one side, write down specifically what it is you want. Be precise. Do not merely say, "I want to be successful." That is the language of the drifter. If you want a specific sum of money to fund a library or an enterprise, write that sum. If you want a home of a certain character for your family, describe it. Write it down as a single, clearly defined goal. On the other side of this card, I want you to write the words that were spoken by the great teacher on the mount. Ask, and it shall be given you. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and it shall be opened unto you. This card is to be your compass. Look at it the moment you rise in the morning, and you will find you have something to live for, something to work for. Look at it during the quiet moments of your noonday rest. Look at it before you commit your soul to sleep at night. As you gaze upon your written goal, remember the law. You become what you think about. Since you are thinking about your goal, it is already yours in the realm of the mind. It is only a matter of time before it manifests in the realm of material reality. However, I must warn you, the formation of a new habit is like the forging of a steel link. It requires heat and pressure. You will find it is far easier for the human mind to think negatively than positively. The gravity of the common crowd will try to pull you back down to the plateau of mediocrity. Each time a thought of fear or a doubt about your ability creeps into your consciousness, you must ruthlessly replace it with the mental picture of your successful self. You must take full and complete possession of your own mind. For these 30 days, you must do more than is required of you. In the world of industry, the man who does only what he is paid for is never paid for more than he does. But the man who renders service in excess of his wages attracts the attention of the universe. Give of yourself, your cheerfulness, your intelligence, your labor, more than you have ever given before. Do this with the calm assurance that your returns must, by law, be in direct proportion to what you give. If you find yourself overwhelmed by negative thoughts during this period, if you fail the test, do not be discouraged. Simply start again. Reset the clock and begin another 30 days. You are engaged in the most important work a human being can perform, the mastery of self. Gradually, the new habit will form. The iron of your character will be tempered, and you will find yourself among that wonderful minority to whom nothing is impossible. Remember, persistence is but another name for faith. If you did not have faith in the outcome, you would never persist in the effort. And what is the alternative? To live a life of quiet desperation? To be one of those broke and dependent souls at 65 because you lacked the discipline to think? No, my friends, no man of spirit would choose the gutter when the heights are within his reach. As you go about your business this month, keep your goal before you. Do not worry about how the result will come. Leave that to the higher laws that govern our being. Your only task is to know where you are going. The how will reveal itself in the form of opportunities, ideas, and lucky coincidences that are in truth the natural result of a mind attuned to a purpose. Think of the man at the wheel of the giant earth-moving machine. He does not need to understand every gear and piston of the engine to guide it. He only needs to keep his hands on the wheel and his eyes on the path. You are in the driver's seat of the most powerful engine in the universe. Do not let it run wild. In our next discourse, I shall speak to you of the true nature of money and why the world has the law of service backwards. We shall discuss why the man who seeks money for its own sake is like the man who asks for heat without adding wood to the stove. But for now, carry your card, practice your faith, and remember, act as though it were impossible to fail. I have set before you the path. Are you prepared to take the first step? I shall wait for your word before I reveal the next chapter of this philosophy. I shall now lead you deeper into the heart of this philosophy, for we have reached the point where the average man falters. He understands the why in a fleeting moment of inspiration, but he fails at the how because he does not grasp the mechanical certainty of the laws governing the mind and the marketplace. Let us speak plainly of money, that great yardstick of service. I have observed a curious delusion among the masses. They believe that the accumulation of wealth is a matter of getting, when in truth it is entirely a matter of giving. You will often see a man sitting before the cold iron of a stove, crying out, "Give me heat, and then I shall give you wood." We smile at his folly, yet millions of men live their entire lives under this very same delusion. They demand the heat of a large salary, the warmth of a high position, or the glow of a grand estate, all while refusing to provide the fuel of service first. The law is inflexible. Our financial return will always be in direct proportion to the quality and quantity of the service we render. Success is not the result of making money is the result of success. And success, as we have defined it, is the realization of your worthy ideal through service to your fellow man. There are no exceptions to this rule. You may drive down any street in this great nation, from the crowded tenements of the city to the quiet avenues of the wealthy, and you can estimate the service being rendered by the people living there simply by looking at their surroundings. If a man wants more, he must be of more service to those from whom he receives his return. If he seeks to enrich himself by deluding others, he may succeed for a brief moment, but he will eventually end by deluding himself and falling into the gutter of ruin. The prisons are filled with men who thought they could make new laws just for themselves, but the moral governor of the universe cannot be evaded. To master this law, you must first master your own mind. I recall a noted man of medicine, a psychiatrist of high standing, who outlined 6 steps for a man to achieve his destiny. I ask you to take these to heart during your 30-day test. First, set yourself a definite goal. I have already told you to write it on your card. Without a destination, you are but a derelict on the sea of life. Second, quit running yourself down. The precious heritage of poverty is a blessing because it teaches you to climb, but it is a curse if you allow it to breed a poverty of spirit. Stop telling yourself you are just a clerk or just a laborer. You are a man with the capacity for infinite growth. Third, stop thinking of all the reasons why you cannot be successful and start thinking of all the reasons why you can. Your mind is like a magnetic force. If you feed it thoughts of failure, it will draw failure to you with the certainty of a magnet drawing iron filings. Fourth, trace your attitudes back to your childhood. Discover where you first got the idea that you were not meant for greatness. Was it a discouraged parent? A limited teacher? Realize that these were but the opinions of others and have no power over you unless you grant it to them. Fifth, change the image you have of yourself. I want you to write out a description of the person you intend to become. How does he dress? How does he speak to his associates? How does he manage his time? Sixth, and most importantly, act the part. If you have decided to be a leader of men, begin to act with the dignity, the fairness, and the industry of a leader today. Do not wait for the title to behave like the man who deserves it. This brings us to the strangest secret in action. Why does it work? Because the human mind is the only thing in the world over which you have absolute, unassailable control. You cannot control the weather, you cannot always control the markets, and you cannot control the whims of other men, but you can and must control your own mental attitude. Consider the mind as a vast source of energy, like the great waterfalls of Niagara which we have harnessed to power our mills. If you leave that energy unguided, it is a chaotic force that achieves nothing. But if you direct it through the turbines of a definite purpose, it will light the world. You are the engineer at the controls. Are you going to fold your arms and let the machine run itself into a ditch? Or are you going to keep your hands firmly on the wheel? As you continue your 30-day test, remember that you are building a new life. This new life requires a new habit of thought. It is not enough to think correctly for an hour a day. You must live in a state of positive expectancy. When you look at your card each morning, do not look at it as a distant dream. Look at it as a map of a territory you are already entering.
The floodgates of abundance are ready to open, but they only open for the man who has prepared the channel through which the water may flow. That channel is your service. Do your work as you have never done it before, not with the frantic energy of the desperate, but with the calm, cheerful assurance of the man who knows the law is on his side. In the words of Dorothea Brand, a writer of great insight, act as though it were impossible to fail. If you do this with sincerity and faith, you will find that the world ceases to be a place of competition and becomes a place of creation. You do not need to take from others to succeed. You only need to create more value, and the laws of the universe will see to it that you are rewarded.
I shall now lead you through the gate of the fourth quarter of our lesson. By now, you should be well into your trial of 30 days, carrying your card and guarding your thoughts as a sentry guards the gates of a citadel. But there is a deeper layer to this strangest secret that we must uncover: the mechanism of the habit mirror. I have often observed that every man is the sum total of his own thoughts. He is where he is because that is exactly where he truly wants to be, whether he will admit that to himself or not. Each of us must live off the fruit of his thoughts in the future. For what you think today and tomorrow, next month and next year will mold your life and determine your destiny. You are guided by your mind as surely as a locomotive is guided by the rails laid down by the surveyor. I recall a journey I once took through the Western Plains where I saw a giant earth-moving machine, a titan of iron and steam, roaring along the path. It carried 20 tons of dirt with the ease of a child carrying a pebble. Perched high upon that vast source of energy was a small man, his hands firm upon the wheel, his eyes fixed on the destination. As I watched him, I was struck by the similarity of that machine to the human mind. Just suppose you are sitting at the controls of such a vast source of energy. Are you going to sit back, fold your arms, and let it run headlong into a ditch? Or are you going to keep both hands firmly on the wheel and direct this power to a specific, worthwhile purpose? The very law that gives us success is a two-edged sword. We must control our thinking, for the same rule that can lead a man to a life of wealth, happiness, and all the things he has ever dreamed of for himself and his family can also lead him into the gutter. It is all in how he uses it. If he sows the seeds of confusion, misunderstanding, fear, and anxiety, the mind, like the fertile land, will return a harvest of frustration and worry. This is why I insist upon the 30-day test. It is the process of taking the wheel of the mind and steering it away from the habitual ruts of failure. It is not enough to merely wish for a better life. You must create a new mental attitude. As William James so wisely noted, human beings can alter their lives by altering their attitudes of mind. If you act as if the thing you desire were already real, it will become infallibly real by growing into such a connection with your life that it becomes a habit. Now consider the nature of your goal. Is it a mastermind alliance? Is it the accumulation of a specific fortune for the benefit of your community? Or is it the mastery of your chosen craft? Whatever it is, you must believe in its fulfillment with the same certainty that you believe in the law of gravity. If you climb to the top of a great steelworks and jump, you do not go up, you go down. The laws of nature are inflexible, and the laws of the mind are no less certain. During this test, you must do more than your assigned duty. I have never known a man to rise to the heights of business who did not do more than was required of him. Give of yourself with an open heart. Do this knowing that your returns in life must be in direct proportion to what you give. The moment you decide on a goal and begin to work toward it, you are immediately a successful person. You then belong to that rare and successful category of people who know where they are going. You have stepped out of the crowd of the 95% and joined the 5%. Do not concern yourself with how you will achieve the goal. That is a burden you need not carry. The answers will come to you of their own accord, often when you least expect them, as a flash of intuition or a sudden opportunity. Your only task is to know where you are going and to maintain the burning desire to get there. Remember the words of the carpenter of Galilee, "For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be opened." It is as marvelous and as simple as that. In our seemingly complicated world, it is difficult for an adult to understand that all he needs is a purpose and faith. Allow me to lead you into the fifth chamber of our discourse. We must confront the true nature of human potential and the curious reason why so many men of talent live lives of quiet, unfulfilled struggle. We have established that we become what we think about. Now we must examine the great law of habitual investment. I have often observed that the human mind is the last great unexplored continent on this earth. It contains riches beyond our wildest dreams, yet it is the least utilized of all our resources. Scientists and university men have proved that most of us operate on only a small fraction, perhaps 10%, of our true mental abilities. Why is this so? It is because of a strange paradox in the human character. We place little value on that which is given to us for free, while we overvalue that which we must purchase with gold. Our minds, our souls, our bodies, our hopes, our dreams, our intelligence, all these priceless possessions were given to us at birth as standard equipment. They cost us nothing, and so in our folly we take them for granted. Familiarity, as the old adage goes, breeds contempt. We treat the mind like a common tool, using it only for the little jobs of daily survival, rather than assigning it the grand, monumental tasks it was designed to complete. We will spend a fortune on a house or a carriage, yet we will not spend an hour in concentrated, creative thought to improve the very faculty that creates all wealth. Consider this. Everything that can be bought with money is, in truth, very cheap. If a man's home burns down, he may rebuild it. If he lose his fortune in a market panic, he may, through industry and the application of these laws, earn another even greater than the first. But the things given to us for nothing, our character, our mind, our purpose, can never be replaced. As you continue your 30-day test, you must decide what it is you truly want to plant in this fertile soil. Do you wish to be an outstanding leader in your industry, a man of letters, a builder of great works? All you must do is plant that seed in your mind, care for it with unswerving attention, and work steadily toward it. It will become a reality not merely because you wish it, but because it is an inflexible law of nature. I remember the words of my friend, the great philosopher of Concord, Ralph Waldo Emerson, who said, "A man is what he thinks about all day long." If your thoughts are fragmented, if they are directed toward 100 incompatible things, you are sowing a garden of weeds. But if you focus your mind upon a single definite chief aim, you are harnessing the power of the universe. In this phenobarbital age, this era of nervous exhaustion and physical ailment, men are literally worrying themselves into early graves. They try to cope with the complexities of life without learning the few great laws that would take care of everything for them. They are like the man I saw in Arizona, perched atop a giant earth-moving machine, yet allowing the machine to steer itself. They possess the power to move mountains, yet they allow themselves to be moved by a pebble of doubt. Doing this test, you must act as if failure were an impossibility. This is not mere vanity, it is the science of mental attitude. By acting the part of the successful man you intend to become, you are training your mind to recognize the opportunities that the average man misses. You are toning your subconscious mind to be receptive to the master key. Keep your card with you. Read it often, and as you look at the abundance of this great land, realize that you have as much right to this prosperity as any other living creature. It is yours for the asking, provided you are willing to pay the price in service and self-discipline. We arrive now at the sixth stage of our journey, the hour wherein we must discuss the chemistry of concentration. I have often stated that the man who fails to concentrate his mental and physical energies upon a single unswerving purpose is like a ship that attempts to sail toward every port on the compass at once. He shall surely end by reaching none. In the great steel mills I once directed, we did not achieve our results by scattering our heat across the landscape. We gathered the fire, we focused the draft, and we directed every ounce of energy into the crucible to forge the perfect rail. Your mind must be managed with the same industrial precision. The reason the average man, the 95%, fails to reach the harbor of independence is that he dissipates his divine energy upon 1,000 petty distractions. He worries about the weather, he frets over the opinions of his neighbors, and he allows the Scylla and Charybdis of idle talk and speculation to draw him off course. To pass this 30-day test, you must learn the law of exclusive desire. As I told my young men in the Empire of Business, there is no room at the top for the man who is merely interested in success. You must be consumed by it. You must refuse to wish at the same time for 100 other incompatible things. If you seek to be a master of industry, you cannot also spend your mental capital wandering in the wilderness of what might have been or what others are doing. You must be like the captain of the ship I described, the one with the voyage mapped out to the last mile. I recall the words of William James, who said that we need only, in cold blood, act as if the thing in question were real, and it will become infallibly real by growing into such a connection with our life that it becomes a habit. This is the secret of the man who arrives. He does not wait for the world to hand him a crown. He crowns himself in the quiet of his own mind and then performs the labor necessary to make the world acknowledge the fact. During this week of your trial, I want you to look at your card not as a list of things you hope to get, but as a receipt for a service you are already in the process of rendering. The abundance of this world is not a fixed pie to be fought over. It is a limitless harvest to be created. When you look at the successful men in your community, do not envy them. Envy is the poison of the soul. Instead, realize that they are successful because they have, either consciously or unconsciously, aligned themselves with these laws. They have planted the corn, and the land is returning the harvest. If you find yourself faltering, if the lump of anxiety returns to your throat, remember the giant earth-moving machine. You are the driver. The anxiety is merely the machine running wild because you have taken your hands off the wheel. Grasp the controls. Refocus your sight upon the goal. Remind yourself that you are a child of the architect of the universe, and he did not design you for failure. You must become a producer, not a prisoner. A prisoner of society is one who waits for circumstances to change. A producer is one who changes his circumstances by changing his mind. As you go to your place of business tomorrow, do not go as a man seeking a wage. Go as a man seeking to enrich the world. The wage will follow as surely as the shadow follows the body in the sunlight.
We have traveled far together, and we now enter the 7th stage of our deliberation, where we must confront the psychology of defeat. I have observed in my long career that the difference between the man who becomes a master of industry and the one who remains a weary servant is often found in how they interpret the word impossible. I have always maintained that there is no such thing as a self-made man, in the sense that he owes nothing to his fellows. We are all parts of a great whole. However, there is most certainly a self-slain man, the man who, through the habitual entertainment of negative thoughts, has built a prison around his own soul. He looks at the vast opportunities of this golden age and sees only the shadows. He says, "I cannot succeed because I lack capital," or "I am too old," or "the times are too hard." He is like a man who stands in the middle of a fertile field with a bag of seed in his hand, yet refuses to plant because he fears a possible drought next season. To succeed in your 30-day trial, you must ruthlessly eliminate the word circumstance from your vocabulary as an excuse. As George Bernard Shaw so correctly observed, the men who get on in this world are those who look for the circumstances they want, and if they cannot find them, they make them. I did not wait for the steel industry to invite me in. I entered it with a definite chief aim and forced the circumstances to align with my purpose. Consider the strangest secret once more. We become what we think about. If you spend your days dwelling upon the reasons why you might fail, you are literally providing your subconscious mind with a blueprint for disaster. Your mind is an obedient servant. It does not argue. If you tell it, "I am a failure," it will set to work immediately to prove you right. It will blind you to opportunities, it will sap your energy, and it will attract to you other men of failing spirit. But if you hold firmly to your goal, if you look at that card in your pocket and see it as an accomplished fact, your mind will begin to function as a magnet. It will draw to you the necessary capital, the right associates, and the creative ideas required for the fulfillment of your purpose. This is why I have always said that the first $100 saved is the hardest. It is not merely about the money, it is about the self-discipline and the change in mental attitude that the saving represents. During this stage of your test, you may feel a lump of anxiety or a sense of doubt. This is merely the old habit of conformity trying to reassert its dominion over you. Do not struggle against it with frantic energy. Instead, calmly and cheerfully replace the thought of fear with the mental picture of your goal. Remember the law of action and reaction. If your action is the steady, faithful pursuit of a worthy ideal, the reaction must be the realization of that ideal. You must act as the trustee of your own life. Just as I believe a man of wealth is but a trustee for the poor, tasked with administering his fortune for the public good, you are the trustee of your mental faculties. You are responsible for the investment of your thoughts. Are you investing them in the gilt-edged securities of faith, industry, and service, or are you wasting them in the gambling dens of worry and doubt? Choose this day to be the master of your fate. Keep your eyes on the heights, for as I have told every young man who ever came to me for counsel, aim high. There is plenty of room at the top, but the crowd at the bottom is so dense that they are constantly treading on one another's toes. We now arrive at the 8th corridor of our temple of industry, and here we must discuss the ethics of the harvest. I have often observed that the world is full of men who are looking for the mint where money is made, without ever realizing that the only way for an honest man to acquire wealth is to earn it. There is a fundamental law of mutual exchange that governs all human relations. This law states that our financial return will always be in direct proportion to the service we render. Success is not the result of making money. Making money is the result of success. Yet how many millions of souls do we see who have this law entirely backward? They are like the man who stands before the stove demanding heat before he will commit a single stick of wood to the flame. They seek the free ride, the something for nothing, or the lucky strike, not realizing that such gains are but sand in the hands, slipping away as quickly as they came, leaving the character impoverished. In the great ledger of the universe, there is no such thing as an unpaid debt. If you seek to enrich yourself by deluding others or by providing a shoddy product for a high price, you are merely deluding yourself. The law of action and reaction ensures that what you put out into the world, be it excellence or mediocrity, will return to you in kind.
The prisons of our land and the lonely streets where the broken walk are filled with men who tried to make their own private laws, thinking they could evade the moral governor of the universe. They learned too late that while one may avoid the laws of man, the laws of nature are inflexible. To pass your 30-day test, you must become a producer. You must resolve to give more in value than you receive in pay. This is the only secret to wealth that is worth knowing. If you are a salesman, do not merely seek the commission, seek to provide your customer with such a benefit that he would be poorer without your product. If you are a laborer, do not watch the clock, watch the quality of your work. By doing more than you are paid for, you are making an investment in your own future that the universe is bound to pay back with interest. I remember the words of Dr. David Harold Fink, who noted that we must change the image we have of ourselves. You must see yourself not as a seeker of riches, but as a dispenser of service. When your mind is focused on how much you can give, the question of how much you will get takes care of itself. Money is but a yardstick. It is a tool for measuring the service you have rendered to your fellow men. If you want a larger yardstick, you must render a larger service. During this stage of your trial, I want you to look around you. You can estimate the service being rendered by any man by looking at the harvest he has gathered. This is not a cause for judgment, but for study. If a man's life is filled with worry, fear, and lack, it is because he has been sowing the seeds of limited service. To change the harvest, he must change the seed. As you go about your work today, do it with the calm, cheerful assurance that there is no limit to the prosperity that can come to you, provided you remain a faithful servant of the law of exchange. You are a trustee of your talents. Use them to enrich others, and you shall find yourself enriched beyond your wildest dreams.
My friends, we have come to the 9th milepost of our journey. By now, the 30-day test should be weaving itself into the very fabric of your character. You have learned that the mind is a garden, that thought is the seed, and that service is the only currency the universe recognizes for a permanent reward. But now, I must speak to you of the master key of persistence, for without it, the most brilliant plans are but houses built upon the shifting sands of the sea. I have seen many a young man start in business with a flash of genius, only to vanish when the first cold wind of adversity blew against his sails. They lack what I call the staying power. They do not realize that the road to the empire of business is paved with temporary defeats. I myself have seen times when the furnace of industry seemed ready to consume all I had built, but I knew then, as I know now, that persistence is simply another word for faith. If you did not have faith in the final victory, you would never persist through the dark hours of the night. During these final days of your trial, the greatest enemy you will face is the habit of hesitation. The world is full of people who are almost successful. They almost saved their first $1,000. They almost launched that great enterprise. They almost mastered their chosen craft. But they allowed the lump of anxiety to paralyze their will. You must remember that you are playing a game of checkers with time. If you sit still and make no move, time will wipe you off the board. But if you move with quick decision and stand firmly by that decision, time will become your most valuable partner. One of the most profound lessons I ever learned was from the great Sir Isaac Newton, who taught us that for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. This is as true in the counting house as it is in the laboratory. If you fail to persevere during this 30-day test, if you find yourself overwhelmed by negative thoughts, you must not despair. Simply go back to the beginning. Start your 30 days over again. You are not merely trying to change a thought. You are trying to change a destiny. Gradually, the new habit will form until you find yourself one of that wonderful minority to whom virtually nothing is impossible. I recall the words of Dorothea Brand, who gave the world a most singular piece of advice: act as though it were impossible to fail. Consider what that means. It does not mean to ignore the risks of business. It means to have such absolute possession of your own mind that the thought of failure cannot find a place to rest. When you look at your card, do not see a hope, see a certainty. As the architect of the universe did not build a stairway leading nowhere, he did not give you the power to dream of a goal without also giving you the power to achieve it. As you move through these final days, maintain a spirit of cheerful assurance. Do not let the petty annoyances of the day, the small-mindedness of a neighbor, or the temporary fluctuation of the market get you off course. Keep your hand firmly on the wheel of that great machine of the mind. You are the driver. You are the master. If you will but persist, the floodgates of abundance will open for you, and you will find that the strangest secret is the most practical law of life ever discovered. I am happy to tell you now, my friend, that we have reached the summit. We stand now at the 10th and final station of our discourse, and as I look out upon you, I see the faces of men and women who are no longer mere subjects of chance, but architects of destiny. We have explored the strangest secret, which is the law of the mind. We have defined success as the progressive realization of a worthy ideal, and we have accepted the price of service as the only honest path to the empire of business. Now, as we conclude, I wish to leave you with the seal of character and the final instructions for your new life. I have often said that the man who acquires a great fortune has a duty to administer it during his life for the benefit of the community. But you must realize that even before you have the gold in your hands, you have a wealth of character that must be administered. Your persistence during these 30 days has been a demonstration of that character. You have proved that you can take full and complete possession of your own mind. You have shown that you can sit at the controls of that giant machine, the human intellect, and steer it toward a specific, worthwhile purpose. Do not think that because the 30 days are ending, the work is finished. In truth, it has only just begun. The habit of positive thought must be guarded with the same vigilance that a banker guards his vault. Familiarity may tempt you to return to the old ways, to the plateau of security where the 95% dwell in quiet desperation. You must resist this. If you find the old anxieties returning, or if you catch yourself blaming circumstances for a temporary setback, reach for your card, read it again, recenter your mind upon your goal. Remember the words of my dear friend John D. Rockefeller, who lived by the principle that every right implies a responsibility, every opportunity an obligation, every possession a duty. Your possession of this secret is a duty. You must use it not only to enrich yourself, but to enrich the world. A man cannot truly get rich himself unless he enriches others. This is the gospel of wealth in its simplest form. When you succeed, you raise the level of civilization itself. You provide employment, you create value, and you set an example for the precious heritage of poverty to follow. I recall the story of the man who sought his fortune in distant lands, only to return home and find that his own garden sat atop an acre of diamonds. Your mind is that acre of diamonds. It contains every idea, every solution, and every ounce of courage you will ever need. You do not need to look to the government, to luck, or to the charity of others. You need only look within and apply the laws we have discussed. As you go forth, I ask you to repeat this test. Do it for another 30 days, and then another. Each time, the habit will become more a part of you until you find yourself in that wonderful minority to whom nothing is impossible. You will find that you no longer work for a living. You live for a purpose. The money will come, lots of it, but more importantly, you will have peace. You will have the calm, cheerful assurance of a man who knows he is in harmony with the laws of the universe. The architect of the universe did not build a stairway leading nowhere. He gave you a mind to dream and a will to achieve. Use them. Act as though it were impossible to fail, and I promise you the floodgates of abundance will open and pour over you more riches than you ever dreamed existed. This is my message to you. It is the wisdom of a lifetime of industry distilled into a few simple truths. Take them, use them, and let us together build a world where every man is the master of his own fate and a servant to the common good. Farewell, my friends. The road lies open before you. Sail on and on.